All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us in today's ETHKL meetup. Today is Today is the 10th of February 2022, and our topic today is visualizing Web3 data with Dune Analytics. Our guest is 0x Boxer, who is handles dev relation and Web3 analyst.
Here one. Okay.
One sec. Let me just mute everybody while I remember. All right. So our guest today is 0x Boxer, is the handles dev relations and is a Web3 analyst at Dune Analytics. Our sponsor, as usual, is Etherscan. For anyone here who is looking to join the Malaysian team in the blockchain space, there's all kinds of positions that we're hiring. So feel free to contact me or other organizers if you're interested. And we'll start with some monthly roundup items. There have been two huge mergers, and interestingly, both of them have been wallets in the last few weeks. The biggest one, in my opinion, is MetaMask and MyCrypto. For those of you who've been around since like 2017 era, especially in the previous ICO boom, MyCrypto, which used to be My Ether wallet before they had a fork, were a huge wallet back then. Made a big difference for a lot of us who were still trying to figure out how to use Web3 wallets, how to get into ICOs and things like that. I guess relatively unfortunately in the last few years, they haven't really gotten as much traction, but they've been like super active in the space, especially helping out with security concerns and things like that. So it's been really good to see them join MetaMask, and hopefully both of them can be better as a team. And interestingly, OpenSea also acquired Dharma, which is another wallet. And OpenSea, with its huge, what was it, $6 billion valuation recently, have a lot of cash, and hiring a wallet makes sense if you want to like expand what your NFT project is doing. So I think this is not going to be the end of the mergers in the blockchain space. Even before this, we had, for example, Gnosis and XDAI. So we can see a lot of mergers and consolidation happening. So I would bet we'll see more of these coming up. Another big thing that especially all the NFT people have been asking for, Twitter launched their NFT profile pictures. You have to be subscribed on Twitter Blue, which I think is about $2 plus a month, and for you to be able to put your NFT image there. But otherwise, anyone else, you can see NFT images with a hexagon shape. And yeah, they even did this fancy launch video, and we'll see how it goes. I think there's ways it can still be improved on. There was like a long thread by someone on Twitter on how it can be improved. So we'll see how it does, especially when it comes to these kinds of like fake items. A massive news, I think in just the last week or so, is Wormhole, which is I think one of, if not the biggest bridge connecting Ethereum to Solana, as well as other blockchains. And I think it's the second largest by US dollar value exploit in DeFi after the Poly network one. So about $320 million were exploited. It's a huge amount. And even more impressively, it got recovered within, I think, 1 day, for those who didn't follow, by, I believe, one of the investors of the Wormhole company. So yeah, it just shows the amount of money that's floating in the space. So one of two big drama items. The first one, I guess, is surprisingly enough the less controversial one. So 0x Sifu, who was the CFO of Wonderland, one of the Ohm forks that had like billions of dollars in treasury. It turned out he was revealed to be a co-founder of Quadriga CX, which was a Canadian exchange, like between fiat and crypto. And I had a lot of drama a couple of years back where the other co-founder was announced to be dead, but no body could be found. And I think he was in India. So a lot of people have been speculating that co-founder is not actually dead. And at the same time, they also lost, I think, about $300 million of users' funds. So to then find out that the other co-founder, who also has quite a checkered history, is a CFO of this big DeFi project, was kind of a very big surprise. So there's a lot of drama. You guys can check out this Reddit page later. I'll share the link for like a lot of stuff that's been happening around that. And like I said, that one is not as big of a drama in the last probably week or so. There's been even more drama, and I honestly don't know what to share. There's so much like tweets and threads going on, and I also don't want to risk getting cancelled myself. So I just want to put it out there. I get a very quick description for those of you who haven't followed crypto Twitter, but a bunch of people have been essentially cancelled, depending on how you look at it, recently. So at first it was Cooper Turley, who is a advisor for a lot of DAOs out there. And I guess recently popular or not so popular for his hustle porn, like going on about how, you should work for a lot of hours in a day and so on. And I guess some people were not very happy with that and dug up some of his tweets from before. And he made some, I believe in his case, it was some racist tweets, like way back, like something like 10 years ago. They dug it out, and then, a lot of people canceled him for those tweets. And then it was Bradley, who is very popular as the face of ENS, who was, and he is a Catholic, and obviously, not the most objective, but as a Muslim, in my opinion, he didn't give any thoughts that were out of place. Maybe he could have worded it a little bit differently, but also in this case, it was comments about a number of people. Generally, I guess the LGBTQ demographic, and so there was a lot of drama there as well. He got cancelled. He got fired as the director of operations of ENS, and potentially will be voted out of his role in the ENS DAO. And then there's a couple more, even more interesting ones. I think someone from Super Rare, and just yesterday, someone from MetaMask, who are who, as far as I understand, both of them have also been active in trying to cancel the previous two. But they have also, one of them has been cancelled. The other one is now under a lot of pressure to be cancelled. So I guess don't want to go on for too long. You guys can search these tweets online. But as a central kind of question that we as a community need to answer is how do we find that balance between like the one extreme is like canceling people, where if you do that, then it never ends. No one really, very few people are completely innocent. Everyone said dumb things or hold positions that may not be agreeable with others. And so in a decentralized space, should we cancel people for holding or saying those things? And on the flip side, there's also that there are people who want to feel like the space is inclusive, and by having those kinds of positions, they might feel excluded. So, and sorry for taking a bit of a monologue to go on this, but I do feel like it's very important as a cultural thing for Web3 or the blockchain space as a whole, because stuff like this can really go out of control very easily. And regardless of whatever technical advancements we make, this can go very wrong. So it should be within the community to self-police, or there's probably a better word for it. Because if you don't, then we will probably be inviting people from outside to butt their heads in and regulate us in a way that we will not like. Anyway, so moving on from this, if you guys have any opinions, feel free, maybe not in this chat, especially because it's such a sensitive topic. We can maybe discuss in Telegram or after the meetup officially ends. I always want to get people's input, but also we should do it in a respectful way. And then moving on to some local news, I think this was much earlier, like in January. Terra announced doing and had a proposal approved to do a Terra Malaysian Ringgit stablecoin. If anyone knows what's happened on this front since they announced it, feel free to share. But yeah, this one is from one member of our community, Dandy, who shared about this. Yeah, okay, so Ian says it's already passed. So it's really cool, but I also hope it doesn't get into trouble with the authorities in Malaysia. So it will be very interesting to see how it goes. Oh, Ian wrote a proposal. That's cool. I didn't know that. Nice. Maybe you can share a little bit more about it later on. And then there is this ICT plans a 10 million ringgit metaverse themed theme park. So we'll see how much of that works out and whether that actually got much relation to blockchains. And lastly, there is a local film that is planning to utilize NFTs. For those of you who follow the local space, they have people like Zizan Raza, who's pretty popular. So we'll see how they use the NFT thing. There was one, for those who remember, there was one film 1 or 2 months ago that came out, and they absolutely butchered the idea of crypto and were apparently shilling their own cryptocurrency. So hopefully it's not as scammy as that, and won't be embarrassing us. But yeah, so this is some stuff that's happened in the last month or so. Again, we'll share the relevant links later in Telegram. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for the roundup. Let me invite Boxer. And Boxer, you can share your screen.
Yeah, hey there. Man, I haven't been on a Zoom call forever.
Should be somewhere at the bottom.
It's all, oh, there it is. So I want to share this screen. That should be right. You guys should be able to see some presentation slides. So yeah, so should I just start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So my name is Florian, or you might know me from Twitter as Boxer. I'm the community success manager of Dune Analytics. So I try to onboard new people to our platform. I try to take care of our existing users. I manage integrations. There's a lot of things that I do. I wear many hats, and my most favorite hat is the Dune one. Yeah, for anyone who's totally unfamiliar with Dune, Dune Analytics is a data analytics platform that enables anyone to easily aggregate and analyze blockchain data. And what that means is that if something is on chain, you can track it using Dune. Then what Dune does is basically, instead of you having to run a full node and really having to take care of that whole infrastructure, spinning up your own database or something like that, Dune is basically plug and play. So you just create an account and within minutes you can get to querying blockchain data. So we really try to break down the barriers of getting into the data analytics space there. And then a really interesting aspect that I will try to show you a bit more during the presentation is that Dune is a collaborative effort between all users, or at least it can be. So that means that all the data and all the methods to get that data are inherently public. And we'll, like I said, we'll take a look at what that means. So Dune's war cry, sorry for the bad image here, I didn't find a higher resolution, is the revolution will not be reported quarterly. And what that basically means is that we are no longer okay with like quarterly reports of like these TradFi companies. And maybe to like get a bit of background on that, I always like to use like this headline of this article. And it's basically like this was an article of 2019, and it's how hedge funds use satellite images to beat Wall Street and Main Street. And basically what happened here is there was a hedge fund in the US, and they used satellite imagery of the parking lots of retail stores, so just like normal supermarkets, to predict how much like wholesale revenue these like supermarkets had in a certain financial year. And basically because these like traditional companies only report their like earnings or like their general like statistics of the company every 3 months, these like hedge funds were able to accurately predict like the like revenue or like a growth or a drop in revenue using the satellite imagery. And it's really crazy, and like it's absolutely insane the length to like which these hedge funds will go to like make money off of this data. And basically what we're looking at in data in TradFi markets today, it's like it's intransparent, it's paywalled. So like usually like a TradFi companies or like a hedge fund or something, like they have a bunch of Bloomberg terminals, and like these Bloomberg terminals, they are really, really expensive. So if anyone is not familiar with Bloomberg, it's just like it's a data provider for traditional financial markets. They have like their own like basically if you subscribe to the services, you either use like their, I think they have a app now, but like it used to be that they had like their own terminals, and you would basically have to rent like the hardware and the software from them, and it's really expensive. So basically like this data is like inaccessible, it's intransparent, like it's never published. So like you think like this hedge fund like published this data on like this what they found out with the like satellite imagery? Of course they didn't. So it's like it's siloed, like there's no like public knowledge being built up, and it's slow because like if you don't use this satellite imagery, you are reliant on like this company publishing their quarterly reports. So like every 3 months, like you get like a few points of data, and they're like backward looking for 3 months. And it's like it takes, I don't actually know like what the reporting like how far in the past this data is, but basically like once the data comes out, it's already outdated. And that's really like what kind, like it's like we're living in 2022, like we have the internet, like everything is pretty much live. And like why are we still like, why do we still have these like ancient methods of reporting data? So and then if we look at the flip side of this, which is data and DeFi, the data is free, the data is live, the data is always online, and the data is shared because like we are all like publishing transactions to this public ledger, and like the public ledger is like viewable to anyone, right? And like what we do at Dune is we try to break down the barriers of like accessing that data. So if we actually look at a few dashboards on Dune, so this is a dashboard that got produced by Messari. Messari is a crypto news aggregator, kind of like they try to be a Bloomberg of crypto. And basically they're just like really good at on-chain data and everything like that. So what they did is, in this case, they built a dashboard for, you guys are now seeing a dashboard, right? I didn't just share a single tab.
Yep.
Okay. So they built a dashboard for Compound, and this dashboard basically shows you, so Compound is a lending platform on Ethereum, has been around since early 2020, I think. Some like a really ancient protocol and real OGs in the space. And what we can basically do here is we can go through the like stats of Compound on a daily manner, and it's pretty much live. So like as soon as like if I were to deposit like 20 million in this pool, and then like we wait a couple of like, I think 1 minute, because like Dune lags behind the real blockchain like 1 minute, just because like data pipelines are hard and stuff. But basically, like if somebody would really like submit a significant amount in here that we would be able to see, like this would immediately update. And like the difference in like that to like this 3-month reporting like standard that is prevalent in traditional markets is just it's really mind-blowing. So what we like, if we just want to dive into here real quick, like so this is the outstanding deposits. So that's like the people who have committed money on the Compound platform on the supply side. And then outstanding loans is basically like how much money are people borrowing from Compound pools. And then we can like we can really dive down like deep into like the individual products, just because like it's really easy to do that with blockchain data because it's all like pretty clean. And I think the most interesting chart in here is like you can just this is basically the revenue of Compound, and you can just track this like pretty much live. And it's really amazing to me, like if you compare this to traditional markets, like where you would need to wait for this, like the last reporting period for TradFi would have been something like here, like the quarter ended here. So basically, like now we wouldn't be able to see like the whole data of January. And if we now imagine like we are like in the end of December, then our last data would be from like October 1st or something. So just like this difference of like being able to like access this data live is pretty amazing. Yeah, and basically like we can dive down like into all the different like Compound pools in depth, and like we can monitor their health, and like there's even dashboards where we could so there's like other dashboards that lie on here as well. So it's like Compound micro financial statements. So in there we could even see like, hey, which borrower is currently like at risk of liquidation. But I think it's more interesting if we just continue on to Uniswap, for example. So Messari did exactly the same for Uniswap. And what we can see here is like the swap count. So if we just want to check like how many like swaps were committed on Uniswap yesterday. So we have approximately 100K swaps in total. And actually, surprisingly, there's more V2 swaps that are being committed than V3 swaps. But if we look at the volume for V3 swaps, so this is the volume share, then the V3 swaps are, they do way more volume. So I guess the V2 swaps are more like meme coins or something like that. So yeah, like especially in recent days, like there has been a lot of meme coin traction again. Like if you check like Dex Screener or something, like it's really amazing. Like the transaction count of meme counts is really picking up again. It's quite strange. But yeah, like we can look at the aggregated volume of all time, like for Uniswap V3, and like it's an amazing like $350 billion. And yeah, it's just we can basically like we can just take any historical data from blockchain and work with that data in like however like way we want. So it's not like we just get like one quarterly report and there's like a few key data points in there, but rather like we really get like if you compare this to like if we just like want to look at a supermarket in like in the real world, like this would literally be like we would see every sale of every item like of all time. And like that is the power of like publishing everything on a public ledger. And of course, like we wouldn't want to do this on ETH mainnet because it's like doesn't really make sense. But in the future, maybe like if we get to rollups and like if we get to zk rollups, especially because like we want to keep the privacy of like I don't want everyone to see that I'm buying like I don't know bananas every Tuesday. Like it's like that should be like, it's not maybe not the best example, but you can see where I'm going here. Yeah, so basically like we can just really dive down like into individual transaction level in blockchain data. And basically how this works is that Dune has built a like giant database where all of this data sits, and then what I was talking about earlier of like everything, like data is public, and also the methods of getting the data is public. So if we just like, I just clicked on the title of the query here, and then if we just go in here, we can just like see the code that basically like feeds this visualization. And now what I could do is like, if I think like, hey, like let me add something to here, like I could just click on fork, and now I can basically like, I have this guy's query, and I can just like make amendments here. So I can just like write in here, I can play with the data that he has done. I could like find new creative ways of like working with that data. So that's like a pretty interesting feature. And or like it's really revolutionary actually, because like in TradFi we have this like what I was talking about like data silos. So like hedge fund 1 produces great research, and then hedge fund 2 also produces great research, but like they don't share information because it's like a PvP situation, like they're playing against each other. But like what like the Dune community at large, or like what like most of the analysts in the space are trying to do, is like we're trying to educate the public and really like try to make the data accessible and transparent, and like yeah, just like try to really like fulfill the like blockchains should be like accessible, transparent. Like this is basically the whole promise, right? Like we want a shared ledger that is like where everyone can like check if what happened is actually correct. And like also like I don't know, if you run a business on a blockchain, it's a transparent business from the start because it's like all on blockchain. But if nobody bothers to like make these dashboards, then it's like, if you just like try to like recreate this with Etherscan, like it's like it won't be possible. So yeah, Dune basically offers you like to aggregate and analyze this data over time. And then yeah, maybe what could be interesting here. Yeah, I guess let's just move on to the next dashboard that I want to show you guys. Because right now we just looked at Uniswap. But what we can do on Dune as well is like we can standardize the data across an entire sector. So what we have here basically is like we have the daily decentralized exchange volume. I think this is for the last 30 days, yeah. But like for all the different decentralized exchanges. So it's not like Uniswap can like only analyze their own data on our platform, but rather they can like really slot themselves into the market and like do like, how would you say that? Like competitive analysis, like basically like data always likes data, right? Like if you only look at your own stats, like as Uniswap, you're like, hey, we did like 1 billion of volume, and then like, but you don't know like how, like what the others are doing. So what is like the volume that SushiSwap is doing in this month, or what is the volume that, I don't know, like what other like Bancor is doing? Like the information is really hard to like contextualize without tools like this. And basically, so we can basically like build like these reports on like individual like projects, which is like pretty interesting in of itself. But then we can also like we can aggregate the data of entire sectors of the space and just make like competitive analysis. And now if you're a Uniswap investor and their tokenomics wouldn't be as shitty, like Uniswap is a like safe buy here, just because Uniswap dominates the DEX space. Like because of the tokenomics, and obviously like I'm not giving financial advice, but it's just like Uniswap dominates the DEX space. Like there's just no second best. Like they regularly like take like they have 77% of the volume currently. And as long as I think Curve is releasing their V2 like pools in another month or so, and maybe that shakes up the market a bit, but in general it's like Uniswap dominates this. And yeah, this is basically like the power that you can do with live reporting of all of this data. And then it's also like we can also like look at like how are these protocols actually used, because again, like we can go down to like individual transactions. So we can even look at like how much of the volume of decentralized exchanges is driven by aggregators like Matcha or 1inch. Yeah, that is basically the gist of Dune. And what I really like about this dashboard as well is like I was showing you maybe we can just go back into here real quick. And this is basically, this is like 200 lines of code. And it's not really that easy to like produce something like this. You need a lot of knowledge, but what we do on Dune as well is like we standardize this data in pre-prepared tables. So there's a table that is called dex.traits, and you can see like this is just like 8 lines of code, and it's like fairly understandable. Like if you know like some kind of data analysis, and I think like SQL, like we're using PostgreSQL, and this program, like it's not even really a programming language, like it's a database. Like you can select stuff from a database. So I think it's a, how do you call this? Descriptive programming language, something like that. But yeah, basically like this language is really like, it's quite human readable. So like all we're doing is like we're saying like select, and then we're saying like select the project. So projects are like the different like decentralized exchanges. Then we're saying like, hey, like I actually only want to look at days. I don't want to look at hours. So that's what we're doing here. And then like sum the US dollar amount, and then like sum the US dollar amount over like project and day. And basically this just means like, I want to select the project. I want to like sum the US dollar amount per day from like this table. And then we're specifying like, hey, like the time intervals. So it's like, it's fairly simple. And especially like if we like build these standardized tables, which are called like dex.traits or like lending.collateral change. There's a few of them, and like I will go about like how you can learn Dune in a second. But basically like it gets like fairly simple to like really analyze this data, and it's just it's pretty cool. Yeah, so I guess yeah, let's just continue. So Dune tech, like I just said, like Dune uses PostgreSQL, and PostgreSQL is a open source object relational database system. So basically there's a lot of like really good documentation on PostgreSQL in general anyways. And if you guys are like vaguely familiar with like how to navigate Etherscan, then it's like using Dune is actually like not that much of a task. So if you can like, if you're familiar with like what event logs are, then it's already like, you're kind of like half the way of like being able to like analyze stuff on Dune. So that's really cool. And like I think SQL is like really easy to pick up. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Then what we do is like we decode the raw blockchain data. So usually like blockchain data is only like it's a bunch of bytecode, and like we use the like application binary interfaces. So ABI, that might be a keyword that you've heard before. We basically use the ABIs to like decode the data so it gets human readable again. So that also like it makes it very easy. Like it makes it pretty simple to like work on Dune, I would say. And then we and our community, like we prepare these tables with standardized data, and maybe I can go into this for a second. Oh. Abstractions. So if we just want to look at this dex dot, so I was talking about the dex.traits table earlier, and basically what we're doing here is just like these are like insert statements for like all the different decentralized exchanges. And like if we just go in here, it's basically just like a SQL script that standardizes the data of Uniswap v3 into like a into the standardized format for this dex.traits table. And yeah, using these tables, it gets really easy for like newcomers or like people who are not really like that familiar with like how the blockchain or like how the EVM works on a base level. But like we take away that complexity of like querying for that data, and then you are just left with this like with this table where there's just like every trade of every decentralized exchange since like the beginning of time basically for decentralized exchanges. So yeah, it really helps. And like also this table will be like it's very fast to query because it's like a pre-prepared table. So let's get back into this. So yeah, yeah, and like if you like, maybe some of you have worked with databases in your like day job before, and Dune is just like any other database. Like there's no real special properties about it. It's just like you don't really have you only have read access, like no write access, because like otherwise our database would just be a mess. But the write access is managed through these abstractions. So if you like launch a new decentralized exchange, like let's call it Malaysia Exchange, then you just like construct a SQL script to like insert your data into this DEX.trades table. And then like it's basically in there, and like you can compare your data against like Uniswap and SushiSwap and everything. So yeah, that's the whole spirit. Then like maybe if some of you, I will post this. I will post these slides in the chat in a second. If you want to like get to know Dune, or if you're like interested, first of all, join our Discord. There's really a lot of activity in there, and people helping each other out. And then we basically have like we've done a like course which ran over 30 days, in which we taught like 30 people Dune, and all the lectures from this are live. And this was really like a joint effort between like our greatest like platform creators. And yeah, these are really great lectures. So if anyone is like need to learn Dune, this is by far like the best documentation that we have available currently. Oh, what happened here? Website crashed. Yeah, but anyways, so we have this great course, of course, our own docs, then a few Dune wizards like wrote like a bunch of great things, and then I also did a bunch of tutorials on our YouTube channel. Yeah, and like that's my maybe I can show you guys real quick like how it actually looks like if we query for data on Dune. So basically, like I just said, like I want to write a new query now, and then we basically have a few data sets. So we have Ethereum, XDAI, Polygon, then we have Optimism 1 and Optimism 2. Optimism had like a soft, how was it called? A regenesis or something. Like they basically like they had a beta version, and now they're like, or like an alpha version, now they're in a beta version. I didn't really understand it, but basically like the Optimism 2 is the like live version, and Optimism 1 is just like a it's just like historical data. We also have Binance Smart Chain, and we have currently we have recently launched Solana, and Solana is still in beta. Like we're still figuring out the data sets there. But if any of you is interested in Solana, we also now have that data. So if we want to query Ethereum data, and let's just say I want to query some like ERC20 tokens, transactions or transfers, then we can just search for a table like this. In this case, it would be ERC20 event transfers, and then this. Then we basically have a table which contains all the like ERC20 transfers of all time. So we can just do this, and we can say, I will just limit this query. And we just limit this, and then like, I don't know, what contract address is this? Let's just go to Etherscan. So this is Mistcoin. I don't know. Yeah, but basically like this is how Dune works. And you just like, we just get like a table of all of these ERC20 event transfers. And then like, you could say like, hey, I only want to see transactions that went to like a certain address, or like transactions that originated from a certain address. And then the value is like the amount in the raw form. So we would need to divide this by the like appropriate amount of decimals. But that's something I won't go into right now. And then the contract address. So this would be like which ERC20 token is actually transferred. We have the event transaction address. So basically like this shows you like exactly the same things that we would have in Etherscan, just like you're able to like aggregate this data over time now. So if you wanna see like, hey, how much like DAI have I like transacted with my wallet over all time? Like you could just say like select all from ERC20 event transfers, and then like where, or like how much DAI have I sent out of my wallet over time, and then you would just say like where, I could say from. I'll just like choose random things here now just to make a point. So I would just say where from, and yeah, we like, maybe we can just run this, and basically now it shows me like all the like outgoing transfers of ERC20 tokens from this specific wallet. And apparently he has done like 16 transactions which went out from his wallet. And now we could like, yeah, we could sum the value of like all of these by joining like a prices table, and we could do all kinds of stuff. But I think this this like exceeds what I'm trying to do here now. So yeah, that was like my quick introduction to Dune Analytics, and yeah, happy, like excited to hear your questions.
Thanks, Boxer. Actually, while we're on this page, right? So you can save and you can publish for the entire world to see, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me go into that real quick. That's a good point. So let's just say like I wrote this query. So let's just fork this real quick, and then we will delete these visualizations real quick because I'm going to show you. So basically, like what we always get is like whatever you do, like you will get a like query result table, right? So and what you do with tables usually to like make them accessible to like a public audience is you create a visualization. So you can just click on here, like new visualization. Then let's say we want a bar chart. Then I just select like, hey, what is my x-axis supposed to be? And I will say day trunk. So that's a day in this case. Then I say like, what's my y column supposed to be? So that would be like the total DEX volume. But then I can also group this by something. And in this case, it's the project. And now this looks shitty. So we say like enable stacking. And then we get to a state where like we have a like pretty good visualization. And I could also like normalize this to percentage now. So I could see like the percentage amounts, but I actually want the full values. Then I can also like, I can quickly like adjust my tick format here. That would be, oh, that was the wrong one. So now it's actually like readable amounts as well. And we could like preface this with a $sign. So what I'm like, the label of the, like, if I hover over here is actually changing right now. That's what I'm doing. So yeah, and then like, if we have finished this, I could just like quickly run this. Oh, I need to actually save this. Fork. Yeah, so this might take a second. But usually our database is pretty fast for the amounts of data that you actually query. Like people are, yeah, there it is. So just now we have like aggregated the like all decentralized exchange trades by project over the last 30 days, and it took us like 20 seconds. So it's like the speed of our database is really quite impressive. And then what I could do is just like I could just add this to a dashboard, and like, yeah, I don't really know what dashboard I want to do right here. But yeah, I could just add this to a dashboard, and basically like, if I want to create a new dashboard, I can always just like create a dashboard. Everything on here is free. And yeah, like maybe like if you look on here, there's hundreds of different people like building new dashboards daily. And like, we can actually like, there's a discover function in Dune. Like we want to discover dashboards, and then like we want to discover like the trending dashboards of the last like 24 hours. And then if we just look like, hey, what's trending right now? And it's like all volume data and wash trading of LuxRare. And like you can just like look at this data, enjoy this data. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And you can also embed it on websites, right? Or yeah. I'm not sure how that works, but
yep,
so it doesn't show up on Dune, it shows up on like a completely different website.
Yep. So you guys are probably familiar with gem.xyz. It's a new NFT aggregator. So they have actually embedded Dune charts on their website. So nice. If you want to use Dune like somewhere else, or like you can use it in Medium articles or Mirror articles or like wherever basically. And like iframe is usually like the thing that people use, but like I'm not a like web developer. Like you will find a way. It's like it's no rocket science. But yeah, yeah. So this works as well.
Yeah, thanks, Voxer. That's really cool. So yeah, thanks for your presentation. And everyone here, feel free, if you have any questions, you can ask it in the chat. I see some of you asked already. And if you want to ask a question verbally to Boxer, you can raise your hand and I can unmute you. But as usual, before we get to any of the other attendees' questions, I always like to start our fireside chat with just getting to know our guests a little bit more. So if you don't mind, Florian, you can share a little bit about your story, like how you went into this rabbit hole of blockchains. And maybe also after that, you can share like Dune Analytics sort of origin story, so we know a bit more about the company.
Yeah. So yeah, how did I end up here? Like, it's a pretty fun story actually. So my background is business administration. So I was studying business administration in Germany. I was never really a good student, and like university is like really like it was pretty boring to me. Still education is really important, and I'm like hugely grateful that I was able to like do university stuff. But basically like I was supposed to write my bachelor thesis in like 2020. And like then like DeFi summer really picked up, and like my original crypto story is basically like in 2017, like I just like flipped a bunch of shitcoins, and like I was just like fascinated by the idea of Ethereum, and like I like traded on this like first like decentralized exchange. It was really like spooky, and like I was like really deep down the rabbit hole in 2017 already. And then like the beer market came, and like I like lost a lot of money, and like I was like, oh fuck all of this shit, like let me get back to studying, let me like do something real. But then like in 2020, like I was supposed to write my bachelor thesis, but then like DeFi summer really picked up, and I was like, oh, like this is really exciting. Like now we can actually like use the blockchain, we're actually doing cool stuff here. So then like I saw that like a lot of anons were just like joining different protocols, and I was like, hey, like let me actually try to do this like myself, and like let's try to like make this into a career, because like I have all of this knowledge of like the Ethereum space. And then basically like two things clicked together. So like business administration background, like I obviously knew a bit about like financial reporting and stuff, and then like I also had picked up some SQL like in some kind of internship that I did back then. And then like I found Dune Analytics, and I was like, holy shit, like I can actually like I can just like take these two skills and like my knowledge of the Ethereum space, and then like build like financial reporting tools. And so like in the beginning, like I worked with Pickle.finance. So that's a yield aggregator, Yarn fork. And yeah, I just like applied for a grant, got whitelisted for the grant, and like so that was really like I said like, hey, I'm gonna do like the full financial reporting, and like no problem, like I'm gonna deliver this within a month. And like it turns out this was really complicated, because like yield aggregator is not only like the one protocol that you're like it's not only Pickle, but rather like all the protocols that Pickle farms, right? So like I had to figure out like how all of this works. Like I was sitting here like day and night just to like get this bounty running. But yeah, in the end I did it. And yeah, then like I basically started freelancing for a bunch of like other protocols as well, and like helped Pickle out. And then eventually like I was really active in the Pickle Discord and was reporting bugs and everything, and like helping people out. And yeah, like the Dune founders like Frederick and Mats, they just approached me and were like, hey, like do you actually want to do this as your job, like helping people out in our Discord, and like trying to organize docs and like reporting bugs, everything like that. And yeah, that's basically still what I'm doing today. So yeah, I got randomly recruited from Twitter and Discord. It's a pretty fun story. And to share a bit about the background of Dune, so it was founded by two guys from Norway, Frederick and Mats, and they were working together on some other company before, doing some crypto stuff there. But they were like, oh man, like this like traditional company, like they're too slow to like adapt to this blockchain space. So let us try to spin up our own thing. And basically what like they did is just like they grinded through the beer market. So I think they started like in 2018. And like at the beginning, they didn't even like really get funding. Like they were basically living off of their savings. And eventually like they got accepted to the Binance Launchpad, and like then they just like gradually like built up this like very rudimentary like PostgreSQL database. which allowed people to query for blockchain data in real time. So like our core product is like pretty much the same as it was back then. Of course, like we've gone through like a lot of revamps, and like no code line is pretty much the same, I would guess. But still, like the like initial idea of like, hey, like we're gonna allow everyone to like run PostgreSQL like queries against like our PostgreSQL database. That's still pretty much unchanged. So yeah, that's yeah. And then like recently we've got like a giant funding round of like we raised like $69.42 million. So 69,420.
I think you guys are a unicorn now, right?
Yeah, we are a unicorn now, and we're still only 20, like under 30 people. So it's yeah, it's a giant pressure pretty much. And like the funding is pretty forward looking. So like the hedge funds are obviously speculating that we will be like the data provider for the future, and we are doing our best to like onboard as many people as we can. And like we are on a pretty good way to get there. So yeah, really excited, and now we can really like we can scale up our team. We are hiring so many people at the moment. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, it has been a really like I've joined Dune like a year and like 2 months ago or something, and like yeah, it feels like 3 years, and like it feels like 1 month at the same time, because it's like it's really intense, but at the same time like it's really fun. Like I wouldn't want to work anywhere else. Like it's just fun. I get to interface with like all kinds of different people in the blockchain space. Like I get to do stuff like this regularly. Like although it is kind of exhausting, it's also like I get to just like meet and hang out with a bunch of people. Like it's a pretty good job.
Yeah, you're gonna make everyone here jealous. So
yeah, but like the job opportunities in crypto are out there, and like especially like what I can tell all you guys, like Dune Wizards are basically like the top creators on our platform. Like this is like our meme of like saying somebody's a really good analyst, and like these analysts are in such high demand. Like this guy who built the Messari dashboards, I personally taught him Dune like 6 months ago or something. Like it was just like back then I still had more time to like spend time with like individual creators, and like we were just going back and forth in DMs, and like he watched all my YouTube tutorials, and like then like it just took like a little bit of like personal coaching, but then like he like as soon as he got to like a level where it's like he's a Dune wizard, like he immediately got like a shit ton of job offers. It's like what and like it's really not that hard. Like it's like 1 or 2 months of like grinding this. And like of course like you kind of need to have like the mind for it. So like juggling with all of these like giant like data stacks in your mind is like not the easiest task. And like if you're like not a math person, like if you didn't like math in school, like you're probably like mathematics. I'm not like yeah, then it could be like harder, but it's still doable, and like you need to like the job, and like there's also like a lot of contextual information that you need, because like what do you actually analyze? Like that's quite kind of like hard to figure out sometimes, but like there's really like it's not that hard to like become a Dune wizard, and it's like it's a really accessible job. Like Messari is looking for analysts like crazy. I know a lot of like hedge funds, VCs, projects. You can work with so many people because data is just a currency in our time, and like having a good Dune wizard on their team is like would help out a lot of teams. And like even if you don't end up like doing this 100%, it's still like a very useful skill to have like in the space in general.
Yeah. So there's a few questions, but because you mentioned the fundraise, the natural question I always think of is when people mention that is, so how does Dune make money, or like how do you plan to make money over the next say 5 years?
Yeah, we we have a like program at the moment, which is $400 per month, and that basically allows you to take your queries offline. So what I showed you earlier of like, hey, every query is accessible, but if you're like a hedge fund or VC and you want to produce this private research, you actually need to pay, because like you're not contributing to like this public network of information. So that's like one way we make money. And then also like every chain that wants to get integrated fast, like they basically need to pay us like a fast track fee. So yeah, that's our business model. But then like we will launch an API pretty soon, and the API will probably be a big revenue driver. And yeah, other than that, like we're still figuring things out. Like we're like, it's like the classic Silicon Valley VC thing. Like don't like having revenue is not always the best thing at the start. Like just like burn the VC's money. Like we'll see.
Yeah, cool. Okay, I want to ask Mark's question because it was asked like way back and I might forget it otherwise. And maybe it's related as well to the fee kind of question. So the question is the data updated immediately or when the query is run?
So yeah, how do I best? So basically, like our whole database trails behind the like Ethereum blockchain or Polygon blockchain by like a minute or so. So it's almost live. But then like we can't keep every query up to date all the time, right? Like that wouldn't be very efficient. So like if I open up a dashboard, all the queries on the dashboard will rerun, and you might need to like wait like a couple seconds, like you saw how like fast our database is, so that it's actually like live. And like if I look at the dashboard now and like some of you guys go on the dashboard like 5 minutes after me, the whole dashboard will not rerun. That's only like it will rerun after 2 hours, I think is the interval. So like the data could be like stale for like it's not really stale. And like we report this on our dashboards as well. Like every chart has like a little like thing on the, I think, bottom right. There's like a indicator of like when this was last updated. And like if you really want the data to be live, like you can just go into the query and rerun it. But yeah, that's like the thing. So pretty much like data can be live, but like because of performance reasons, like we like let the like visualizations like rerun every 2 hours basically.
I remember in the early days, like trying to run sometimes because like other people are trying to run their own queries as well, and it gets like super slow. So that's why I was mentioning the fees. Like, is there any kind of like thought to like if you want to create a query that like refreshes itself much more frequently, like you could pay a certain amount to.
You can't do that at the moment. What I've seen is like there's a trick to basically like make your whole dashboard rerun immediately. Like you just like input a random parameter and then like let the dashboard rerun, which is like for some dashboards where it's like for example, there was like this Assange DAO the other day, and like you want to really see like the funding amount in real time, right? So you just like you use this little trick of like rerun the whole dashboard, and because it's like fairly simple queries which all complete in like 5 seconds, you can actually do it. And like of course this is something we are working on, and like we really want to like get better at this of like being more live, but with our current like database infrastructure it's just not possible. But we will upgrade to a new database pretty soon, which is like it's like pretty much 100 times as performant, and it's absolutely crazy. Like the Solana database already runs on this new database architecture, and it's lightning fast, and just like having the Solana database live in general is like a huge achievement. Like it's so much data, like it's absolutely, it's crazy. So yeah, like we are working on getting even more live, even though we are like practically like, yeah, it's like, yeah, you understood what I was trying to say.
It's miles better than a quarter.
Yeah, that is for sure.
Okay, Chironjit mentioned, I guess it's not a question, but he mentioned, he want to see if he can replicate the Nansen dashboards. So I guess a related question would be like, what's stopping any Dune wizard to literally just like recreate Nansen using Dune and then, even charge money for it, right? Like, what's stopping them from competing with Nansen?
Nothing. Like, literally, like, there's like I love what Nansen is doing, like really huge props to them. Like I really enjoy their product, and like there's a like they curate the data themselves, right? And like they are the ultimate. So like if something's on their website, like you can expect it to be true. And like on Dune, it's more like a free kind of a floating approach of like we will try to see what happens, and like so yeah, like I think both approaches are totally valid, and like Nansen is more focused on like qualitative research. I don't know if that's the right word, but basically like they're curating way more, and we are just like we let our like community decide what is true in the end, and like or like not what is true. Like you need to like every dashboard that you open, like you just trust this random stranger from the internet, and like yeah, like everyone who has looked at this dashboard before and shared it, that like the data is actually correct, right? Because like everyone can go on, like I can go on Dune right now and like make a bunch of bullshit queries and like give them some titles which make it seem like Uniswap is actually not winning the DEX market anymore. And then like yeah, like I don't know, like that's sometimes the problem that we are facing, and like we're thinking about creative ways to like solve this in a kind of like Wikipedia style of like editors or like reviewers, stuff like that, because like it makes a lot of sense, right? Like we basically like, we have all this public data, and like now we need to find a way to like curate that data to like a certain stage where like we like on Dune you can be as sure as on Nansen that the data is correct. And then it's like Nansen can't hire enough, like we have like the entire world which could basically like build on Dune, and Nansen has Nansen employees. So it's like what approach will win out in the end. And like I I think the like community and like open approach is like it's way more native to the space, and that's actually like that's pretty much my favorite feature about Dune, that like everything's open, everything's transparent. Like we're really trying to make the whole space educated about, like we're trying to educate the whole space about data literacy or something like that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like whenever I talk about Dune, it kind of feels natural to also talk about Nansen at the same time. It's kind of like two different approaches towards data. Like you said, like one is more curated, one is like more open. And I guess your target market's more like technical users also, like who know how to do queries and so on. Whereas Nansen would be like people who don't even know how, who don't even bother with doing queries. Like they just have to drag and drop and click. Yeah. And probably more like trader type of people.
Yeah, Nansen is very much like, I think, institutions and traders and like VCs to some extent, but like the short-term VCs, not the long-term VCs, I guess. So yeah, and like Dune is more like researchers and like hobbyists and like, but also like we are like, yeah, like I can't really share publicly like what kind of companies we're working with, but like the database is in really hot demand. Like I can tell you so much, like literally like the biggest names, like the biggest companies in the world are like requesting access to our database. So it's like
nice. Okay, so Ian asks, will Dune be expanding to different chains like Terra and Phantom?
Yeah, like our end goal is to get to all the chains. Like we want to be the space where you're like, hey, I need some kind of data point, like you can, like we want to get to a space where we pretty much have all the like relevant chains. And like the bottleneck is of course like integrations and like having enough engineers to like do all of these integrations, and then also like because like it's not always easy to keep them running as well. Like you guys probably remember that there was like a big fiasco with like Binance Smart Chain like 4 or 6 weeks ago, where like there was like this like issue raised on GitHub, like this is run by teenagers and what's happening here. And like that also affected Dune, because like we're trying to keep like in sync with Binance Smart Chain, but then it's like they had like a bunch of like they have a really big state load, right? And like their blocks were really like, there was a bunch of weird things happening by Smart Chain that made it really hard for us to keep up. And like as we integrate more chains, we also have more maintenance work. So it's like it's kind of hard to like scale all of this up, and like we are scaling like the organization at the same time, and like it's just it's like usual startup problems. Like we're like suffering from success to some extent.
Always it's good problems to have.
Yeah.
So related to that would be like how do you approach which chains to support first, to prioritize?
I don't really have a lot of insight into that part of our business. Like that's outside. Like of course, like we try to listen to our community and like we look at like which chain is used at the moment. Like Avalanche, for example, is like it would probably be good if we have that on Dune, but like it might also not be as easy. There's like a bunch of different factors, and like Phantom, of course, is really interesting to us because like currently there's a lot of activity on Phantom. And then like near protocol, like there's a lot of like we want to follow our users because like if we like integrate, I don't know, Tezos or like the like how's Justin Sun's like chain called like Tron, like it's like will there really be like significant or like interesting analysis to be done on Tron? Like is this something that we should commit to? Like of course, like in the end we also want to have Tron data. Like and like we want to have all the blockchains, but it's like the like while we are still like resource constrained and like we need to like make prioritizations, like we kind of like there's a lot of like internal discussions and I'm not really part of them, so I can't really.
And is it possible to have like cross-chain data in the same query, let's say?
Not currently, but like once we relaunch our database, so once we like change this like once we do the database architecture change, then we will have cross-chain queries, and that will like it will be mental. Like the like it will just be amazing because like right now that's like everyone asks us at some point if like, hey, like can I like combine the Uniswap Polygon data and the Uniswap Ethereum data, because it would be like it is a really fundamental like question, all right? Like it's really important to like think about like how like product teams like like it's just important, and like we can't do it at the moment, but like once we relaunch the database we'll get there.
Okay, cool. So let me see. There's another question. I might have lost it. Okay, so Asfa asks, when it comes to like producing dashboards for protocols, is it normally the practice that Dune does it and accepts commission, or it's entirely just the community, just the wizards who do it?
It's entirely the community. Of course, like I also like build dashboards, but like that's more like to like be able to like still answer the questions of my wizards. Like I need to keep up with like what's happening in the space. So I can like educate people about like how to do certain things, right? So I have like like recently I've built like a giant NFT dashboard, which I think is like probably like maybe better than what Nansen is doing, but like who's to judge? So if you like like whoever has asked that question about like can we rebuild Nansen dashboards, I've tried to like get like do a better like NFT dashboard, but like the thing that Nansen is really good at as well is like giving these labels, right? So they have like MEV collector and like Pranksy, however that guy's called, like they're able to like follow the smart money, and we haven't done that on Dune yet, like given like the addresses or like certain addresses the labels, so that we could like follow smart money or like tag certain addresses of like, hey, this is a flipper and like this guy is like really rich, so like if he has a lot of like NFTs, it's probably no biggie because like he won't like be able, like he won't have to sell them to like pay his rent or something. Like there's like a lot of like qualitative aspects that Nansen is like, it's just like really like they've just done an amazing job at this, and like we are still like catching up in that department. So yeah, like there's like pros and cons to both. But like with what we have currently on Dune, like I think I built a pretty good NFT dashboard.
I think you shielded it really well. So there's a question. Please share the link to your dashboard. And then people like Chiranjit can compare with the Nansen one and give us your feedback. So Mark actually asked a related question to discovery that you mentioned earlier on like, is there a list of the best databases to start with? Like if someone wanted to fork or modify queries?
Yeah, like the like pre-prepared data tables that I was talking about earlier. So Dex.trades, NFT.trades. So NFT.trades has all the like different NFT trades basically, and oh man, yeah, like DEXA trades, NFT trades. Then there's like a few lending tables, and then like ERC20 event transfers, because it's just like simple, or like ERC 721 event transfers. Yeah, like those are like the most commonly used tables. But basically, yeah, like do the course that I tried to show earlier, and then just go into like protocols that you kind of understand, like where you kind of know like the smart contract architecture. And like you can probably learn that from like a bunch of YouTube videos and reading like the docs of like Aave, for example, or like the big protocols, especially. They have really well documented like technical documentation. So like just try to like like pull up an Aave dashboard and then like see what they're querying, and then like pull up the technical documentation and see like, hey, what event is actually being emitted from what smart contract, and then like kind of like patching like the queries and like the smart contracts together. Then you will get somewhere. Like Dune is a lot of like just trying out and like experimenting and just like social learning. Like, hey, how has this guy solved? Like if you have like, for example, like if you want to make a dashboard for like say Rari Capital, then you're like, hey, Rari Capital is actually just a fork of Compound. Like I wonder if I can, or like it's a lot of forks of Compound. Like basically like each one of their pools is like its unique Compound fork. So like how have the Masari guys solved these problems on the like Compound dashboard? And then you can probably take a lot of those approaches and apply them to like the Rari fuse pools. So like, yeah, like that's what I meant earlier by like you need to like contextual data is really useful. Like you basically need to be online, like in the crypto space, and even like on the technical side to be able to like really like utilize our platform sufficiently, or like at large.
Is there, because I remember also struggling with this, especially at first, when I was just first exploring, like, is there some sort of like data dictionary, you know, like, let's say these are maker tables, these are the columns that, and you know, what it's used for, what units it uses, like, is there something like that or planned?
Yeah, for like the big tables, so like the tables that we like curate, there is something like this, but like for like if you go into like Aave lending event or something, like we literally have like over 5,000 contracts in our database. Like there's no way I can ever maintain this. But like what you can do is always like yeah, it's like the technical documentation of the native project teams. That's usually where you like best find your answers.
Potentially you could incentivize the community to like, you know, maintain a data dictionary.
Yeah. Like for sure, like we're looking, like we're like really thinking about like how to like, I'm always calling it Wikipedia, like my team, like the others in the team like to call it Google or something. And yeah, we're really trying to think of like how we can like concentrate all of these efforts, or like coordinate all of these efforts, because like everyone is doing such great work on Dune, but sometimes it just gets lost in a way where it's like I build all of these great queries, but then I don't really document my code because I'm like, I just do this for myself. And then like the next one comes in and he's like, what is happening here? And like we need to find a way to like basically like surface this information better.
And also related is like you mentioned abstractions earlier. So like how does Dune, the Dune team decide like which protocols you want to support, like building abstractions for?
That's just like the protocols usually like make these pull requests themselves. So that's or like some like engaged community member will do that. And then like we just check if the code is correct, and then we will merge the code. Like there's no real like we don't really care what's in, like we care that it's correct, but we don't care if it's like if you do like $50 in volume or for 5 billion. Like data is data.
So you have to do a little bit of curation, but like you don't have to do too much work because someone else already submits the details. Would that be correct?
Like from like the Dune team perspective.
Yeah.
It's like we do spend time on like working on these abstractions and like finding new ways, and like NFT trades, for example, like that was started by like the Dune team just because we see the need. And then like if nobody starts it, like OpenSea doesn't really have an incentive to start it, like Luxware doesn't really, and then like you just need somebody to kick it off. But what we hope will happen now is like that like the smaller marketplaces will pull themselves in there just because they recognize the like usefulness of this.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Chiranjit asks a kind of a naughty question. So is Dune a competitor to Etherscan?
It depends on what Etherscan will do in the future. Like currently, I think we're very much complementary products. So like Etherscan is a very good block explorer, and we are very good like block aggregator, and I love Etherscan. Like I use it every day, and like so many hours of my life have been spent on Etherscan. So yeah, it depends on what Etherscan is trying. Like if they launch like a PostgreSQL database where you can query for stuff, then they are becoming a competitor for sure. But currently, like they're just like a very good, like we're just like very good complementary like products.
Would you be able to build Etherscan on Dune the way you could with Nansen, let's say?
Probably. But we're not trying to, like, we don't really see the need.
Okay, cool. So Ian asks, can one theoretically query all the dApps on a specific chain? You just need to have the contract address in order to analyze it.
Can you repeat that?
Like, would you be able to query any single dApp on a specific chain? Like, is there any limit, any kind of
no, like you can go down to like the raw blockchain level. Like you can go down to like bytecode, right? So it's like every like single transaction, every block, every smallest trace will be in the Dune database. So like you can query for all the contracts, and like you can work with this raw data, but you can also you can submit like all the contracts to like our database, and then we will decode them. We just you need to ping us to you basically need to signal to us to decode a certain smart contract, because we can't decode all the smart contracts. Like it's just not a very efficient thing to do, to decode all the smart contracts by default, but rather you just need to ping us hey, there's an actual workflow of this in the website. Like if you go to my creations contracts and then add a new contract, then we will decode it within 24 hours basically.
I guess technically if you really wanted to, you could just use the event logs table or something, right? Figure out the method ID.
That's what I'm saying. You can go to we have Ethereum.transactions, Ethereum traces, Ethereum signatures, and Ethereum logs. And you can just really go down into these that's actually really interesting, because sometimes project teams don't publish the ABIs, and then you actually need to do this. So for example, there's this MetaMask swap router, and it's obviously not decoded, because MetaMask being MetaMask, I don't actually know what that is about, but and that is not decoded, but some Dune wizards have figured out what the individual events are, and now we have a couple of dashboards live on the MetaMask swap router.
That's really cool. You can't hide from the Dune wizards.
You can't.
Yeah, but you probably don't want to do what you just described unless you really technical and really enjoy self-pain.
Yeah, it is pretty challenging to work with this raw data. But one case where this is not as hard is if the contract is decoded on Etherscan, but you really I just said we take 24 hours, or sometimes you only take 6, but if you submit it at 3 p.m. European time, because there's a certain manual aspect to this, we still need to sanity check our results basically. So if you submit it at 3 a.m. European time, but you really and then it's only live 12 hours later, but you really want to analyze this data, you can pull the data from Etherscan basically. You can pull the event logs and stuff, it's all decoded in Etherscan already, right? And then you just you switch the Etherscan view back to raw data, and then you just copy those things out there, and that way you can reasonably work with this raw blockchain data. But usually yeah, I don't know what analysis would be so urgent, but you can do it.
Okay, so we have about 4 minutes left. If anyone has any final questions, feel free to put it in the chat. Otherwise, I'll just ask a couple of my own. So when you do Postgres SQL, it's basically relational databases, right? Has Dune ever thought about doing something like, let's say, a GraphQL database where it's more about like mapping the connections between entities?
Yeah, so we will change our like entire database architecture, and we will basically like Databricks, something Sparks. Like I'm like lost on these topics. Like it's way above my pay grade. But basically, like we will probably like get a bunch of other like methods of getting the data. So for example, Python would be really exciting as well, right? So we will probably like enable like Jupyter notebooks or like pretty similar thing on Dune at some point. But first of all, like we need to get to the new database architecture, and like then like it needs to run stable, like and like then we can think about like these different methods. But yeah, it's definitely something we've thought about.
And I think something that some people here might be really interested in is, you mentioned your APIs that might be coming up. I imagine there's like free and pro tier and so on. Maybe
I don't know.
but like, would you be able to share like what kind of endpoints would be available? Like what can a developer expect to be able to use the Dune API?
Probably you can pass a bunch of parameters to us and then just like get data back. Like it's pretty much like gonna be very customizable. Like it won't be like it won't be just that you have to write a SQL query and then like you get an API endpoint for that one SQL query, but rather like we want to really like make it into a proper API where you can like both ways, not just like one way.
Okay. And yeah, so as far as asking, I guess one final question that would be, I guess, good to wrap it up with. Will there be a Dune token?
I don't know, man. Like yeah, I like not something that would be on my level of pay grade, and like I really don't know how Frederick and Mats think about it. Like I can certainly see that like it would be useful in some kind of ways, but at the same time it's also like it introduces a lot of noise into these systems. And like what we are now doing is like for example, like 2 days ago or 1 day ago, we announced this Wizard Grants program where we will be giving out like if we recognize you're a talent and we want to keep you in our community, we will give you a grant for $10,000 for 3 months of basically being a resident wizard. And in that time you will basically like try to help out the Dune community at large. So that's like a bit of Discord questions and like a bit of like trying to like write articles and like maybe like trying to like standardize some kind of like querying data in our database. So it's basically like you'll be like kind of a freelancer, but you'll also like still be free to like do whatever you want. So yeah, like basically like just like a little like directional like nudges to like what you should be working on. So we are working on that. We're like getting a bounty program, like we're trying to develop that. And then like, yeah, we're trying to find like alternative ways of like, without like having a token at the moment, like we're trying to find ways to like really reward the people who are doing great work on our platform.
And I think from a fundraising point of view, at least, like you just raised 69 million, you don't necessarily need the funds that a token.
We don't really need to sell a token at the moment.
All right. So on that note, thanks a lot, Florian, for your time. Yeah, everyone, please say thanks to Florian. And if you're ever in Malaysia, let us know. We're happy to, host you and show you around. And if any of us are in Amsterdam and you're there, then we can probably
hit me up on Twitter. I'll be happy to meet with any of you. And also like huge like. I've actually learned a lot of stuff about Ethereum from Ethereum Malaysia videos. Like, if you like, at the time you wrote me, I was like, holy shit! Like, so
really?
It's been a real pleasure. I think the course is, what was that course like? It's like Ethereum transaction. Like somebody really took apart Ethereum transactions, Ethereum like log data, event data, how the bytecode gets produced. Everything like that. It was like those were amazing videos. They had like 700 views, but I was like, oh man, this is a gem. Yeah, I really enjoyed these videos.
By the way, Chi Chuan, I believe, who was the one that was going through the workshop, he's here. So
yeah, thank you, man. Like you really helped me out.
Yeah, I mean that's really cool. I mean, we never thought, like, Malaysia's not the most well-known place out there. So really cool to see that stuff we did has helped someone across the world.
Like the magic of YouTube, like.
Yeah, and Ethereum, I guess.
Yeah. I really like. What is actually the reason that you're hosting this in English? Like, is there?
I think English is quite like used a lot in Malaysia, and we have people from different sort of cultures, different ethnicities. So sometimes English is the.
So it's like the common language that everyone in Malaysia speaks well, I guess.
Yeah. We could do like different native languages as well. Haven't explored that.
I guess it makes a lot of sense, and like it also allows me to just like drop into your like Ethereum Malaysia like meetups and just like hang out and understand everything. It's so beautiful. I actually have a call and I'm already 3 minutes late. So
yeah,
thanks everyone.
thanks a lot, Florian.
Thanks, Florian.
Bye. This has been fun.
Bye.